Hello everyone, a bit sorry we're a bit late. Well, I'm a lot sorry that we're a bit late. I said that completely wrong for starters, didn't I? But yes, there's a lot going on. There's a dogfight for the ownership of Manchester United. The Qataris are going to cut out the middleman. They're going straight to the Glazers. They want a deal direct. Sir Jim is confident, he's bold. He thinks his bid is going to just blow the Qataris out the water. Why is that? We're going to get into detail about that. Ben Jacobs of CBS, who is on later with us tonight on the Twitter as well. So do tune into our Twitter space later on tonight, people, because we're going to get answers to everything that we're talking about on the show here direct from him as well. Lots of interesting quotes and some serious updates on what's happening with United ownership and possibility of who is coming in. We've got more to talk about as well. A bit on the protest, a bit looking ahead towards what's happening this week on the pitch. Obviously, we've got some player information coming out regarding Dean Henderson as well. We're going to dive into that. That's already circulating on social media as well. A little clip about a debate that went on earlier on today. So do check out our socials on that side of things as well. But we're going to talk about it in detail as well on this show. Joining me today, well, I did have a guest. I can't actually see him. Sorry, it's a bit of a joke. Sorry, it's a poor one, but he's wearing the retro. It's double A. He promised every time he come on he's going to wear the retro. This is the infamous shirt that Sir Alex Ferguson blamed for Manchester United losing 6-3 to Southampton at the Dell. I can remember the day like it was yesterday. Double A, you was frontline in the protest. You've had a busy weekend. It's been an emotional weekend. First of all, thanks for coming on. And obviously, how are you feeling? Has your voice come back a bit yet? Because it was loud and proud at weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, first of all.
Anytime, mate.
I did say I'd promise to have the retro one every time I come on. So
classic, I like it.
Yeah, I had to just get it from the warehouse and bring it down for you, mate. But no, it was a good weekend, I think, you know, in terms of the protest as well as the match. You know, it was a good day for United fans, I think. Speaking of the protest, being a front line, as I've seen on some of in the Athletic and the Telegraph, with face plastered all over the place, being there and being a part of it was fantastic. And going from, you know, the day before, there was the uncertainty about who's going to win this race, who's going to be the new owners, for fans of all ages and generations coming together and showing us this pleasure at what we've had to suffer for the last 17, 18 years was brilliant to see, and it was nice to be a part of it for sure. I was happy and proud of myself as a United fan.
Good stuff, good stuff. And you didn't check out Double A's fan vlog after the game. He goes into a bit more detail about what happened on the day there. Now, how emotional it actually was to actually be part of that. If you are a lifelong United fan, you'll understand everything that's coming out of Double A's mouth right now and on that fan vlog. So do go and check it out. That is down on our main page. So part of the fan vlogs from weekend. But guys, it's a bit difficult to obviously gauge everyone's thoughts. Different times of the day, different people can watch. So I'm just going to do a quick poll right now, actually. The talk is of the ownership of Manchester United. I want to get your guys' involvement straight away so I can just judge the mood of everybody. The comments are flooding in already and it's hard to see all of them. But we're going off what happened at weekend a little bit here at the start of this show and just gauging where everyone's at. Me, Charlie and Beth talked about this earlier on, actually, and we went into a bit of detail on what is best right now with everything the way it is. We're going to talk about what the Qataris are doing, but first of all, it's a simple two-part. You've got the Glazers still here in some aspects with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but he's calling the shots, or not as much debt with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and it's still being as it is right now. So to break it down easy in the chat, it's going to be the Glazers still here in some aspect with Jim Ratcliffe in control, or as it is now, because that's what's come from the weekend, and that's what I talked about at weekend as where we're up to with everything. I'm going to add to that now with a bit more, and we'll see if it moves you and it changes your mindset within this show. But it is one of sort of downbeat from the weekend. But if that was the case right now, where would you go? I know no one's happy with anything, but we are basically supporters, and that's our job. We can't do anything else. We haven't got a say on it. We can't do anything that's going to sway these people's minds. These are higher up people, the businessmen looking at this and dealing with United. It's nothing to do with us. We can say what we want and we can be not so much disruptive, but we can have the voice that we've had. But right now, I'm just going to put a poll up. Glazers and Sir Jim, with Sir Jim in control, or the Glazers as it is now? That's going to be your first poll of the day. I'm going to get into detail about what happened today and the news and the updates regarding the Qataris. But first of all, Double A. Ben Jacobs, he's on with us later, like I said on Twitter. It'd be interesting to see his thoughts on talking about what he's tweeted out here today. So, Sir Jim Radcliffe's bid is very flexible, apparently. 6.5 billion. I don't know how it's structured or where that is and where 6.5 billion's come from all of a sudden. But in terms of where we're at now, in terms of like the sale process and where everyone's at and where the bids are, we're expecting a preferred bidder to come through this week. In your mind right now, and obviously I've just asked the chat as well, where are you at? If Sir Jim had full power of United, but the Glazers were still in the club in terms of shareholdings and still had a little bit and we're still earning from it, I suppose it's like me and Charlie said earlier on today, it's like, it's better the devil you know, because I feel like we've got double trouble if it goes that way a little bit. It's like the unknown that's worrying.
Yeah, well, for me, it's strange how the goalposts keep moving for the Sir Jim bid. So first of all, it was...
That's a good point, yeah.
It was the stay-in, they'll have their voting rights. But then when that got a bit of a backlash online, it then all of a sudden changed to, no, they'll still be there, but they'll have no rights whatsoever. So for me, that's conflicting, and you don't know which way it could go. It's all right saying it after the fact, no, they'll have no rights. But I don't believe the Glazers are power hungry. They have been for 18 years. So for them to all of a sudden step back and have no say whatsoever doesn't ring true to what we've seen in the past and what we know of them. So for me, it's a tricky one. And Sir Jim has kind of pulled the wool over our eyes a little bit, promising this, promising that. But as soon as you mention the Glazers staying in any capacity, I wouldn't even want them to be the cleaners at Old Trafford. Never mind having a stake and still earning from us when they've bled us dry for 18 years. They don't deserve to hang around, and it's okay. And then you look at the other side. I know what he's trying to say with, Al Thani and the Qatar, but there's not a line of 10 billionaires wanting to buy us, and there's only one option that means we cut ties with the Glazers, and that was the whole point of the protest on Sunday. It's full sale only. That's all we want. We don't want them here for a minute longer than they need to be. So if it comes down to it, and Al Thani's offering full sale, or Sir Jim's offering even, he'll own the club, but they'll still be there in some capacity, I'll take the option that means the Glazers are no longer here, because for me, they're just leeches, and to any success we have in the future, to have their name still associated, diminishes it a little bit for me.
Yeah, that's it. I can see the chat's going absolutely ballistic at me. It's like, I don't want to vote. The reality is, this is the reality. And whether we like it or not, these are the options that are being talked about right now. I'm kind of leading you into where I'm going with this show here today, because I'm going to bring the Qatari side of things and where they're at. And I know everybody now is looking at this going, Glazers and Sir Jim, I'll take anything at all apart from them two options. And I can see that, and I understand your fears in the chat, I do. But the reality is, and I have to put the reality out there, because this is it. This is a very, very... What are you going to do? Stop supporting United if Sir Jim Radcliffe comes in? They've got us on a string, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can voice our anger and do what we can that way, but eventually most United fans will have to just sit back down and get behind the team. It's what we are, we're supporters, and this is where it's difficult, and it's playing on the heartstrings of every single United fan. And I think that's where the emotion of the protests, and like you said, and the people you met, and everything there, and everyone coming together comes into it. It's the United fan base wants to feel united still, and I think it is on moments like that, you know what, we're not suffering alone in this. It sounds a bit far out there saying it like that. I mean, but when it comes to what we've grown up with, Double A, that's everything to a lot of people, and you could see that in the turnout, couldn't you?
Oh, 100%. And like I say, there was so many different generations, young people to, adults bringing young children all along for the ride, and the passion you could see these kids singing the songs, anti-Glazer or otherwise, in support of Manchester United, was brilliant to see for the whole time I was involved. I stayed outside for the 18 minutes as well. So from the start until the end, was brilliant to see all these passionate Manchester United fans showing, at the end of the day, this club is nothing without us. And the Glazers can think what they want, can say they don't care about protests or what the fans want, but we're what makes this club great at the end of the day. The players only wear the shirt for a short amount of time. We're here before and after them. Same with owners, same with managers or whatever. So you know, for us to all come together at this time and really try and force home what the fans need and what the fans want from this sale or this, you know, this whole journey that we're being taken on a ride on. It's very important that we all stick together and show that, you know, our voices need to be heard, and that's the most important thing when it comes down to something like this.
Yeah, J Martin with a super chat. How is this reality? Nothing is 100%. Well, I'm sorry, the reality is the Glazers are in charge and they'll accept whoever they want as the next owners of Manchester United. They don't give a toss where that money's coming from. So yeah, it is a reality, and I don't want to be the one that's always. I'm not always bringing bad news, am I? I'm just kind of throwing myself under the bus there a little bit, but I don't want this. By the way, I don't want Sir Jim and the Glazers, and I don't want the Glazers. That's where at the moment. I'm going to bring the Qatari side into it in a minute, but I have ruffled a few feathers, and I'm just going to have to get through a few of these chats. But super chat from Anton. Cheers very much. Neither. I don't want the Glazers in. Period. However, this poll did not I want to support anything with the Glazers. With the Glazers in, no shirts, no merch will be bought. The poll that I put out there was basically just to say this is one of the options that could actually happen. I mean, I know people are slugging the poll off on what it is, but if I told you right now, with over 5,000 people watching live, that 31% of them people are actually saying I'd rather the Glazers than Sir Jim and the Glazers, then it kind of shows you there's a few silent worries in there as well. I know there's a few voices there and you're all having your opinions on it, and that's what this show is about. That's what I wanted to bring to this show. So if you're angry, get your comments in and let me know. That's what it's about. I'll try and get through as many as possible. When I can't, there's a poll there just to gauge how much you hate me, I suppose, in a way, for even asking the question. Adam, there's another one with an explanation mark. Oh. Great start. Nanias is a red. I hope I've said that right. I'm sorry if some of these names just completely baffle me and how you pronounce them. But Adam, let's start a trend. Make a short video saying Glazers out, full sale, hashtag the sponsors, hashtag Sir Jim. Everyone, let's do this, get them out of here. Yeah, it would be lovely if everyone came together, but believe it or not, there are still elements of this fan base that are divided and don't like certain other sections. It's crazy, I know, it is crazy, but your poll question is equivalent of asking if I would rather have a crap on a plate or crap on a plate with syrup poured over it. Great super chat from Stephen Rossi J there. That's probably the best response, but you can feel the anger right there, can't you? But then again, 31% would rather have the Glazers on their own than with Sir Jim. That's saying a lot. I mean, where's that come from? Where's the worry in that for you, Double A?
It's what you're saying there in terms of it's better the devil you know. We're in debt already. He comes in, he's adding debt. And, you know, I think it's something, I think Mark said it last night on his show, that these people don't know each other. Yes, they may have had passing meetings before in the world of business, but they're not friends. They haven't got working relationships. Who's to say them two forces coming together is 10 times worse than what it already is now? And we get more and more into debt. There's more problems in the club, and players are wanting to leave, and it becomes even more toxic than what we can see at the moment. It's that unknown is very scary, and you know we all hope that it works out if that does happen, and we move on to the next level, and Ten Hag's backed, and the players perform on the pitch, and everything's rosy again. But we don't know what can be caused from the Glazers staying with Sir Jim, because let's be honest. Nice aren't doing very well. You know, they may have brought some players in on big money, but they're not tearing up League One. They're not even challenging for anything. So he's got a track record there of not absolutely pulling up trees when he owns a club. So, you know, one of the sides of Manchester United and how big we are, do we know he can handle that pressure already? And being backed or being in cahoots with someone who's already hated at the club brings added pressure and, you know, more toxicity from the fans should anything start to go wrong. And I can understand why it's so high with just the Glazers.
Super chat from Qatar. Let's get your opinion on this one as well. Qatar will win. Jim being led is propaganda. It's one more super chat before I get your answer on that one. Jonathan Reed, only reason I don't want Jim with the Glazers, he's done the dirty on all the fans and he can't come in. Qatar is our best option to win the league. Talking about the football matters there, I can totally see that. But from what QATAR said there, that one there, I mean, how much do you reckon there's been talks and there's been a lot of people saying that it's all been media driven. They don't know fully, and Sir Jim has been backed big time by the media. You've got ex-players, pundits coming in saying this is the better option. Gary Neville, one of them. Then we had Sky Sports last night. For some reason, Kasper Schmeichel turns up all of a sudden. Just when, oh, hello, Sir Jim Radcliffe, the owner of his football club, like you said, he's in the middle of one of the biggest purchases in sports franchise history. Kasper Schmeichel turns up on Sky Sports instead of Gary Neville, who instead of Jamie Carragher commentating on Liverpool was there instead. You can see where I'm going, but how much do you reckon it's driven? And there's a lot of people saying that the British media, the media have been driving the Sir Jim Radcliffe one away from so much as a sports washing Qatar bid, which has been shouted out in a lot of the media. Yeah,
I fully agree with it. We saw it, even last summer when the rumours about Sir Jim wanting to buy United came out. First of all, the media were all over it. He was the darling. He was everyone's choice to do so. And then obviously we've seen later on that he's not possibly the best choice for us fans that want a full sale only. So we a lot of people want it to be a British owner, someone who loves the club. That's the dream. Everyone would love that. But that in reality isn't going to happen, because we know in big business, City's owners, PSG's owners, Newcastle owners aren't die-hard fans of those clubs. It doesn't happen. You're very lucky if that does happen. So for that reason, and because he's put it out there that he's a United fan, although he does have a Chelsea season ticket, it's the one to go for. And that's why you're seeing a lot of the pundits, for someone who said they can't wait for the Glazers to go in Gary Neville, now it's, but it's okay because he can't afford the whole club. He can 50%. And in 2 years' time, get rid of the Glazers. Where's your anger towards the Glazers now, Gary? Is it because he's British that you're now wanting to stay because it's better than nothing? Or, why is it such a problem for United to be backed by a state when other clubs are already doing it? Is it because United don't really need it, and with that power, no one's going to be able to touch us? I think that probably is a big reason. So it's filtering through the media that, keep United on a short leash, because, Sir Jim hasn't got the power of other clubs, and United will be there or thereabouts. But it seems like because he's British and a United fan, that's the angle we're being shown is the right route for Manchester United to be.
Yep. Frederick, I will come to that in a minute. Cheers for the super chat. Adam, thoughts on Maguire being rotated? That's for later in the show, that one, people. Spoiler alert. Swallow, this is an interesting super chat. Very interesting. Cheers very much, mate, by the way. Voted for the Glazers to stay. Why? Splitting the club into multiple owners will get messy. I'd rather keep the Glazers for a while and get 100% sale, having Sir Jim in there, having him for the foreseeable future. For God's sake, Adam, get your words out. It's messing with my head, all of this financial talk and possible split ownership. Like Swallow said there, I think that nailed it. I think that's the comment I've been waiting for in terms of a sensible look on things if this is where we're at right now, if everyone is moving away or if the club are actually not looking at Qatar. I will get to them. I'm going to have to get to them, but this is just stirred a hornet's nest this right now. There is developments on that, people, and I am coming to it. We have got an hour, so don't worry, we've got plenty of time. But that there pretty much says it all. That's the better the devil you do know, and you know where you're at. Whereas right now, is this combination like the Legion of Doom? Do you know what I mean? Is it like bringing two of the evil forces together to run the biggest sports franchise in the world, and they will maximise every penny out of that? Rather, the Qatar bid just looks like it's, I'm going to benefit Manchester United on and off the pitch. That's it. Yeah. There's no other goal.
No, and we're not seeing any of that from Sir Jim. We don't know what.
He talked a good game though. He says he will.
Yeah, I mean, putting the Manchester back in Manchester United. I don't actually know what that means. It just sounds nice.
To come to Old Trafford on Sunday, you see the Manchester.
Well, exactly. From Deansgate or from town all the way to the stadium. I understand people thinking it's a way out with potentially them going fully in the future. But it's probably just as dangerous the Glazers staying, because it puts Ten Hag back a year. And who's to say they'll ever look to sell again if they get that backing from Elliott Group or whoever comes in and just finances them for a little bit longer. They can stay for another 10 years, and then United are in the mud even more, and who knows what's going to happen.
That's it.
With that. So we are truly stuck, unfortunately, as a fan base. It's, you know, is there a right option? Like I say, if there was 10 billionaires, if Amazon and Apple and Elon Musk, as well as Qatar, were all in the mix, you could pick and choose who you want to buy the club outright, because there's only one option. And for me, that's the most important thing. It's not who's behind it, it's what they're offering. And Qatar are offering what I want as a United fan, and that's the Glazers no longer here and putting Manchester United back at the top of the table where I feel we belong to be.
Super chat come in, which has just switched it right across in perfect time. Cheers for that. There is a zombie. It's a great name. A great name. Sheikh has not given up. I'm optimistic it will be him winning the bid. Sheikh will put a new bid in. End of the gym nonsense. Yeah, I mean, that takes me on to where the Glazer bid is at. I'm just going to get through the Glazer bid from the QATAR'S is at, actually. Remember, for 3 months, Cyber Spiders. Without Jim, a club will be easier to sell. Never mind run. That's a point. Too many cooks spoil the broth. Too many chefs in the kitchen, as they say. Whether it's now or later, the club will be sold. Qatar in 3 months. A member. Cheers for that, Spider. One more super chat before I move on to it. Glenn Boy, I hope the New York Stock Exchange say to Sir Jim, okay, if that's what you are valuing the club at, then you have to buy 100%. Don't know if that would be the case. A few more super chats quickly just to get through. Samson on English Bulldog. Quality. What? You just imaginations in the live chat and these names is off the scale. It's a great debate, this, because the comments are flying in right now. This sale is all about the elite that rule the world, wanting to keep United in the World Economy Forum. The Qatar would take us out. Want Jim. I don't know what that meant at the end, but I did get exactly where he was going in terms of keeping United in the financial circles. The Qatar bid does take us out of all of that as well, and that's one big thing, I think, in all of this as well. Darren Malena in with another super chat. Cheers, Darren. Regular super chatter. Thanks for sending me another one, mate. It keeps me going. Only full sale and Qatar can bring us success and challenging likes of City for the Champions League. Definitely, Darren. And then I Am Liam Cunt says, how can you put Manchester back in Manchester when the Glazers will still remain part of the club? It's a very good point. Mm-hmm. And Double A is nodding his head to it there. Guys, I'm just going to bring up now, did promise you that I would say what's Ben Jacobs, who, by the way, don't forget, if you have just joined the stream, Ben Jacobs is on with us on a Twitter space later on tonight. I'll be talking to Ben about all of his comments and updates on the Manchester United takeover today and where we're up to. I'm just going to get to that bit that he brought up before. Sheikh Jazim hasn't given up and still... He hasn't given up. Still huge confusion over the 9-2 Foundation's offer and whether the pledged investment part of it on top is on top, or if it's part of the $5 billion offer. Insiders continue to question 9-2 Foundation's bid. Qatar sides reiterate offer is competitive. On top of that, Double A, to make it out there, basically there needs to be a bit more clarity regarding their bid, the extra funds. Is that included in the $5 billion, or is that going to be spent very similar to how the Chelsea bid was taken and how Todd Bowley committed a certain amount of money to investment that was rolled together in one price? Mm-hmm. That's what I think is being broken down now in their bid, which hopefully will happen this week, and then we'll bring up the preferred bidder sooner rather than later, please. But that it shows that they're still interested. They're not going to go away. They're a powerhouse themselves, and they're not going to say no. We're not going to give up that easily. Mm-hmm. But that there just shows that it's a complex process, and we just have to probably be, as much as we don't want to be, a bit more patient.
I think that we've had to be patient since November, since all this news broke out about the potential sale. Because I know you would have known, and I know nothing that happens with Manchester United under the Glazers happens quickly. Everything is a drawn-out process. Transfers.
You say that again.
Anything, painting the stadium, anything is a drawn-out saga. So I expected to be deep into the year before we even started to get close to the end. Who knows if we're even near the end now? But for me, it sounds like these reports about the Qatar bid, it's all hearsay, it's all scrambling. They don't know what's going on. I think it was Al Jazeera yesterday evening, came out and said there's no information about how much he's bid. So, Saturday it was saying that Sir Jim's was higher because Al Thani's included the extra money in his total bid. Then it came out later that that's not true. It's actually on top. And then Jazeera say, no, it's locked down. You don't have a clue what is actually being offered by Qatar. And I think, to me, again, it's people trying to work an angle and find a way to say who is actually leading the race. And you're hearing a lot now, even reports I saw this morning, hearing on the radio and stuff like that. It's, Qatar wants to get back in the race, or, Sir Jim is leading. No one knows who's winning the race at all. And, for all we know, it is reporting and it's journalistic, but it's not a fair share of what's happening. And like you said, it's leaning towards one side more than the other. And for me, it's leaning to the wrong side. But I can't imagine, Al Thani's come out and spoke a lot about the stadium, about the infrastructure, about adding everything for players, for everything like that. Not just the men's team, but the women's team and youth teams also. I can't imagine all that is included in what he wants to pay for the club. I can only see it being on top of everything that he's willing to pay for Manchester United to own the club 100%. That is yet to be seen. I could be wrong. I could be right. We'll have to wait and see. But like I say, for me, it's angling to get Sir Jim leading the race in view of the media. But we will see soon. And I can only hope it's the right way that I want it to be, really.
Yeah, that's it. A few more super chats just coming in. Hassan Mahmood says Saudi takeover would make MUFC promote Saudi and Saudi League friendlies, etc. Majority of the elite in the West don't fancy that. Don't know what Saudis have got to do with anything. We're talking Qatar here, maybe Newcastle. Bit of a mix-up in the Uniteds, maybe. I don't know, but I get that on the other side of it as well. If you did say Qatar instead of Saudi, there always is that debate on the West divide and everything. Another super chat from Mario says, laughable how these journalists are questioning United fans' demands for full sale because it means Qatar. If we had another option, we would back it. Mario, good point. Another super chat in Mohanty, I'm going to say his second name. I don't know if I can say that first one. Shirar Anash. I tried. I think it was a good try, hopefully. Do let me know if it was a mile off. It's laughable. Sorry. United will remain listed in the New York Stock Exchange unless Qatar decides to make a private entity, make him a private entity. Someone's laughing at me in the other room here. I can see him in the background. 100%. If stocks means 100% of voting stocks, note all shares being traded in the market. Just FYI. Does that make sense to anyone? Basically, most of the people in the room want the Qataris. Let's just break it down and round it up as that. I didn't even see what the poll finished on, by the way. I don't know if it was a 60-30 still. But, so, early on in the show, we did say, would you take Sir Jim and the Glazers, or would you prefer it to still be just the Glazers? In the future, is it easier to get them out? Or if Sir Jim comes in, is that it? It will be it for my lifetime as a United fan. So that's what the poll was aiming at. Where was you at with that? If you looked at it in a bit of detail, you would see that there was an angle to it. And 30% of people, I think, looked at it that way when they voted just keep the Glazers as it is now, because we know what that's about already. Do we want another entity coming in which is going to cause even more problems? But yeah, one other thing that Ben Jacobs talked about on Twitter was that deadline on Friday for the 28th was actually just for people who wanted a majority holding or full ownership. People who want to invest in United, that deadline did not exist. No. So don't forget about other people wanting to put a bid in for Manchester United, whether it's full ownership, whether it's majority. that's aside, the extra investment the Glazers could still look at is still there from a few different groups, so don't forget about that either. I mean, would you take that over Sir Jim and Glazer? Just the Glazers with more money in the pocket. I don't know if that's even more scary.
That's terrifying. You know, it's like giving someone in £1 million of debt or £1 billion of debt more money. How could we even contemplate wanting to do that? And I think any company trying to do that and get into bed with them is only going to cause problems for themselves further down the line. I don't think the Glazers will get so far down the line having 3 rounds of bidding for people to buy the club outright or a 50% stake for them to then just take someone giving them $2 billion. I don't think that works for the Glazers because that money's just going to get soaked up so quick, and then United are no further down the line with a stadium, with new infrastructure, with players. So I don't think that works for them long term. They're only going to find themselves in more of a hole because United are going to be in more of a hole. So it works best for them if they're practically bought out by Sir Jim and they hang on and cling on for a little bit longer and suck and bleed what they can out of the club, or they just sell it totally and then they walk off in the sunset with a lot more money than they should deserve to be taken with them, for me, anyway.
It'd be interesting to see, actually, right now. I'm going to gauge you all again. I'm going to do another poll. And I am going to involve the Qatari right now in this one. Let's just see if it's turned into more of a landslide. There are people still backing Sir Jim. And I'll be interested to see if there's any here with us right now. So the next poll is a simple one again. Sir Jim's offer and his whole, we couldn't even talked about Paul Mitchell coming as a DOF. He talked a big game to Jim in terms of everything he's bringing in there. He's offering more and he values Manchester United more. Does that mean anything to you? Let me know in this poll. Sir Jim or the Qatari bid? That's the poll. It's a straightforward one. I'm giving you a chance to come back from the early one because you all said I didn't give you an option, but getting on this one right now. Is there anyone there? And I think this is aimed at, is anyone, has it, because I remember it being 60-40-ish last time that I can think in favour of the Qataris. I want to know now in this poll when it comes up how much that's changed after what's happened this weekend. The thought of the Qataris going in cahoots with a so-called United fan, local lad, running United. And yes, I've listened to Simon Jordan go on TalkSport. We just have to deal with it. Is it better now with the Glazers having no control and just having a minority stake with Sir Jim there? I understand the argument, but unless you're a supporter of that club, like we are, you just can't you can't understand it. You can't understand it, I don't think. But I mean, you've bigged up the Qatari bid there, mate. I mean, is it simply one man in control that appeals more to you? His own money? He's going to build, he said, and that's another one coming out today, he said he's going to put his own money in to building Old Trafford again. It's all his own personal wealth. That's just straight in at Old Trafford and the redevelopment side. Yeah.
It's the package that he's offering that appeals to me, and that, the number one, sorry, I'm going to have to cough. The number one thing on the list is the Glazers gone. That's all I care about in terms of what I need from new owners. The Glazers no longer being there. As soon as Sir Jim came out there, I'm quite... This is the protest. I apologise.
Right, mate, you still got the pyro smoke in your mouth.
I have, yeah. As soon as it come out, Sir Jim was happy for the Glazers to stay in any way. It was a no from me straight away. So, like I said before, if there was other options and other people offering, Elon Musk, I know he's destroyed Twitter, but if he was to come and say, I will buy United, and every United fan gets a blue tick on Twitter for free, I'd jump at the chance, as I'm sure you would as well, mate. So it's just the fact of it's the best case scenario for Manchester United fans, and if he's offering to buy a new stadium, and oh, thank you.
Getting AA a bit of water. That's it, we look after him.
Yeah, buy a new stadium, all the infrastructure we need that propels United back to the top table, fighting for every single competition. I know we do it at the moment, but we're not going to win everything. We're not going to win the league and obviously the Europa League now, but if we can be back in the Champions League competing every season, back in title races for longer than 7 days, that's what we want as fans. I don't see that happening under anything that involves the Glazers sticking around. So if Al-Thani's offering that as a package, that's the one I want. I think that's best and best suits Manchester United for our future and sustainability to be a functioning, well-run club.
Yeah, well said, mate, well said. Do you want to know what the vote's at?
Go on. I'm excited.
So 95%. That's the quickest amount of votes I've ever
Wow.
seen on a poll come through. There's like 1,700 votes on this already, and there's 95% saying get Qatar in now. You were in the middle of the protests from the get-go on Sunday, AA.
Yeah.
In terms of talks, is there anyone in that protest there against the Qatar bid? I mean, this is an anti-Glazer protest, so it's not necessarily picking Sir Jim or it's picking the Qatari bid. Is it just out-and-out Glazer protest there? Where are the people's heads at? Did you speak to many people?
Yeah, you know, certain conversations, as you walk in, it's kind of all the chanting and you're lost in the moment of protesting for what you believe is right for Manchester United. But earlier on, I was there quite early before we decided to march and speaking to a few people. And I think the 58, you know, hats off to them. They've done an absolutely fantastic job organising that and rallying enough fans to really show our voice on Sunday. It's not picking a side. It's not in protesting against Sir Jim, and it's not protesting for Al Thani to own the club. It was simply a fact of the Glazers need to be gone, and there's only one message from United fans that are involved in the protests, and that's no more Glazers in the club. And I think we just want what's best for United. And I didn't hear anyone really pro Sir Jim. I didn't speak to anyone that was kind of saying, you know, it would be a good thing because of, you know, if he's a Manchester United fan, a local lad, and it stops the sort of, you know, the backlash and being owned by a state or Middle Eastern money being influenced in your club. So it was more all, and pretty much the message was just no more Glazers, and that really is just the bottom line in terms of where we are as fans that are against this ownership and moving forward. We just can't have the man hanging on. They've done it for too long, and we need a clean break so that we can move on and try and succeed again.
That's exactly it, mate. 100%. No, sir, no, Sir Ratatouille. That's a brilliant one. Yeah, I mean, it's completely changed, because I remember people talking about, I'd rather have Sir Jim outside Old Trafford. That was a few weeks ago when the bids went in. Yeah. It was like, oh, I'd rather have the Manchester lad. It feels more right. It's got that love story to it. It's completely changed with the news that the Glazers may still be involved, even if they haven't got a say or any say in major decisions for the football club. That's completely turned the fan base against it. And it'll be interesting how he spins this. If he does take over and that first interview comes around and that how he actually tries to get the United fans on board, because anything to do with the Glazers, he's going to have to do some. He's going to have to turn up and really put out a story there to try and stem the tide, because there's a lot of United fans just not having him simply off the news. That they don't care how it's structured, how much better it is for the club. Yeah. The fact that the Glazers are involved at all in this club in any way, shape or form has taken Sir Jim off the favourite list, or even swayed people across directly to Qatar because of that Glazer involvement. That's mental. It really is. It really is. I need to move on. We don't want to talk about the ownership forever. It's time to start winding people up even more. Dean Henderson. Oh, Dino! He's in the house. Well, he's not. He's injured. That grade 2 tear in his thigh is proved to be a lot worse than first thought. Now then, Mark was talking about it this morning. Obviously, the news is that he's going to be injured past the transfer window, which opens, obviously, in July. And then by the time September 1st closing, Dean Henderson will still be a Manchester United player. Now then, David De Gea is about to sign a new contract. Erik ten Hag has not seen Dean Henderson. He's not seen him one bit. As in Dean Henderson's words, he would want me to stay if he watched me play. Very bold. And a lot of United fans have gone, I said it before, I think a bit soft. It's like the man backed himself. I mean, we just need to get over it. I mean, he's confident in his ability, whether you like it or not. He wants to be a winner. He thinks he should be United #1. Is there any way in you and what you've seen with Ten Hag, and we've seen players that we thought were out the door, turned around by Ten Hag. If Dean Henderson is part of this football club, come the summer, and going into the start of the season, do you feel there's any chance that Ten Hag made us go, I like Dean Henderson better?
I don't see why not. Anything's possible. Like you say,
break it down. It's as simple as that. It's like no one's seen him getting rid of Ronaldo or putting him on the bench. No one's seen him putting club captain on the bench. No. Could he put the most experienced and longest serving player at the club right now on the bench? Is that worth it?
It may not be worth it, but he was offered the chance to stay in the summer, and Ten Hag wanted to have a look at him, and he flatly refused. So, I think that was an olive branch for Dean Henderson to prove his worth, because who knows if he'd have stayed for pre-season, got a couple of games, does he then oust David De Gea because Ten Hag sees something in him that says, actually, he's more of what I want. He fits the mould of a keeper that I see staying as a number one for the way I want to play football.
If he sticks to his philosophy and his ethos, a player comes in at United, plays well. Say, for instance, David De Gea gets an injury. Yeah. God forbid, don't want any player getting injured. Just saying that. It's not wood. Yeah, touch that. Don't want any player getting injured. But if David De Gea got injured, Dean Henderson, because he was at the club, because we couldn't get rid of him because he was injured, like we just said, then gets his opportunity in goal and plays well, very well. We've seen it in the outfield. Should it make a difference between the sticks? If Dean Henderson has done well in a game, it's like we've got Luke Shaw, who's ahead of Harry Maguire now, who we spent 80 million on. Ten Hag doesn't care for price tags, egos, wages, or anything like that. No matter who you are, how long you've been at the club, how much of a hero you are, it's about the team, what works best for the team. And this is what I feel. This is where I feel like this could, I don't know if it would cause a problem behind the scenes. I mean, it's competitive. You're playing for United. He's set a new standard at United now for me. The culture's changed. So does players then have to accept their place on the bench? Yeah. This is how I look at it. I mean, where are you at with that? How do you feel that won't be the case? He's stuck by De Gea. Is there a big enough say to just say he's put so much trust in him, he's got a new contract?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of reports, aren't we, over the weekend of keepers that we have apparently looked at to come in
a lot of scouting,
and be an understudy to De Gea. The only thing I would worry about is Dean Henderson's attitude. Has he fractured any relationships he had at the club? That interview that he gave wasn't the most positive and wasn't the thing you'd expect from a club or from a player that's just on loan to a club. He'd not moved permanently, and some of the things he was saying regarding the club wasn't the greatest. And we've seen when he was here, if you believe what you hear, that he was one of the ones that was kicking up a bit of a fuss, leaking stuff to the press and everything like that. And we've not had that this season, which has been great, or not as much as of what we've seen in the past. It's just whether he can come back and fit into, or even if he wants to be given a chance by Ten Hag, and if his relationship can work with David De Gea, because if they're both fit going into the new season, is De Gea the number one choice? Again, it depends on what Ten Hag sees and who he prefers to go with. But I agree with what you're saying. Ten Hag will give you a chance, and if you perform, and you perform better than your counterpart or someone that's vying for the same spot, you will invariably play. We've seen, a lot of the fans, you talk about Harry Maguire, and how can he not be dropped? Now, like you say, he's pretty much the fifth choice centre-back at the club, and he's the club captain. Although I did love that he didn't take the armband on Sunday. I don't know if you saw that.
Big change, I did see that. Ten Hag talking about Bruno as captain in one of his press conferences, so it looks like maybe time's changing.
It looks like the tide is definitely changing. But personally for me, I would like a clean break. I'd like Henderson to go. I don't think he's got the mentality to be a Manchester United goalkeeper. He's a bit of a too big for his boots without actually achieving anything in the game. How you can come in and try and talk bad on a club legend who's won pretty much everything for us. And I get that, believe in your own ability and think that you can be the number one, that's fine. But you need to show it on the pitch. I don't think I watched him and I was ever convinced that he could be a great Manchester United goalkeeper. Whether that can change under a new manager, who knows? But personally, if it was my decision, I'd rather get rid and get someone to come under De Gea for a season or two.
Super chat from Darren Mulaney backs that up. Henderson would have to change his mentality and attitude to become a player for Ten Hag. That's exactly what you were saying there. John with a super chat from the subject earlier on. We will fight Jim Ratcliffe till the very end, and he has already made himself an enemy of the fans. he will never be able to show his face at Old Trafford. That'd be interesting if Sir Jim actually, because he would probably want to turn up at Manchester. I would see him wanting to show up more than what the Glazers would, and then after all of this, and then having to convince the fans, it would be interesting. Yeah. Patrick Ryder, 9 months a member. Congratulations, my friend. Maguire thinks he should be a United starter as well. Doesn't mean he should be. Henderson is not it. Ego-fueled and toxic. See, I'm still not having that, mate. I just feel like some of the United fans just need to toughen up a little bit. But that's just me. That's what we're here for, everyone's opinions. You guys have been completely on it tonight. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I understand that. I personally would say it has to be one or the other. Yeah. Although Dean Henderson's contract is big, we know he's on 150 grand. It's a lot longer than what De Gea's is left. If we do get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in, and he has said, and there was a report from the Telegraph saying that he wants full control over transfers. Now, dissecting that, I looked for a bit more detail when I was looking it up. I couldn't find it necessarily. But full control, what does that mean? Does that mean that he's buying players and Ten Hag has to coach them? Or do we hope that he's in control of how much is spent on them? I mean, he would be anyway. So I can only see this as him saying, I'm in full control. I want to buy the players, and then Ten Hag deals with it. We've just come back from our best transfer window in terms of purchases in a long, long time. Yes, we spent a lot, and yes, we did spend over the odds on certain amount of players. But Ten Hag's transfers have all impacted this team this season. Do we want to take that away in our second season with Ten Hag first with, if it is Sir Jim Ratcliffe? That's another tick in the no box for me straight away.
Yeah, it depends on I know what you're trying to say.
What's Paul Mitchell doing then if he's going to bring him in?
Well, yeah, you'd imagine with buying a massive asset, which would be Manchester United, he must be doing work behind the scenes to get the right people in place. So if he comes in and says, I want full control, hopefully Murta and Arnold are gone, and he brings in the best in class to take on straight away, be in contact with Ten Hag.
Paul Mitchell said that, hasn't he?
Yeah, so, they get in contact with Ten Hag straight away. Who's your number one targets, for what positions, and then he can go on from there. I'm hoping it doesn't mean, it's another Bowie and all that. He's buying every single player that he wants and stuff like that at first before he brought people in to take on them roles at Chelsea. So hopefully it's just he's got a plan. If it is Sir Jim that takes over, he's got a plan for us to just perform functionally in the transfer market, have a good transfer market. Like you say, not overpaying for players, not waiting for the last minute. We get him in nice and early for the manager. His pre-season can start with a full squad of everyone that he wants. And I'm hoping that's the plan, because that's what we need. We need to be competent in those key important areas at the club that we've been too incompetent with for the past 10 years. So let's see if it does transpire that Sir Jim takes over the club. He has this functional plan, and Ten Hag can go on and bring in the players we know can take us to the next level. First choice transfer targets as well, not second and third. We love Casemiro, my favourite player at the club now, but he was the third choice for midfield. We're lucky that it worked, because we could have been stuck with Rabiot, and it was De Jong before that, with that whole saga. So, if it's Kane, if it's De Jong again and Timber, just get them, because we want the manager to have the players he feels can take us to the next level, and that's the most important thing with whoever comes in, that he gets back and gets the players that he deserves to take this club on.
Yep, I'm liking it. I like them. Guys, just to get you involved in the last 10 minutes of the show as well. At the end of every month, I'm going to do this. I know we've only got 2 months left of the season. The previous month is what I'm going on right now, and then I'll do it again. Most important player, a new poll for Manchester United in the month of April. We'll do like a monthly goal of the month, player of the month, or for us, the most important player of the previous month. So think back to the games. I've picked out a few. The poll is going to be Bruno Fernandes, Anthony, Marcus Rashford, or Luke Shaw. For me, I'm looking at them players going, they've had killer months, I think. Well, not so much killer months. I think they've played a key role at one stage of this month, or big parts of this month. It's hard to break down, but we can only pick 4. There are other ones that I would probably put in there. I think Wan-Bissaka was worth a shout. I thought he's had a good month as well. But The poll is going up now, guys. Lindelof was just the last few games, guys. I know he was right on the cusp of being in this poll, so do give me a break on that one. I'm hoping that he can stay in and then have a great last month, because if he does have a great last month and he's in this poll for the end of May, then we've had a good end to the season. So, yeah, it's Bruno, Anthony, Rashford or Luke Shaw. Who has been the most important player for the month of April? I'm going to do it every month on this show, Adam Talks, so get voting now. Another thing that has changed in terms of United's business and doing stuff, I don't know if you've seen a video on social media today. MUTV leaked, I didn't leak it, but they put out the video of Ten Hag greeting Garnacho's parents after he signed his new deal. Yeah. There are rumours, and it's on the United Stand website as well, the story regarding United actually putting a contract clause in on Garnacho's contract. It would be a first ever, I would think, but around about 100 million apparently. It's, if true, and I'm not saying that's a definite, so I'm definitely taking that out of the equation right now. Don't hold me to that. You can quote me, or you can talk about it all you want, but 100 million, Garnacho, it's not so much the value, mate, but is this the way United's business needs to start going forward? We need to be a bit more intelligent in the transfers, in the outgoings as well as the incomings, because we've spent a lot, and if we are going to abide by financial fair play, and these foreign players do have a dream of playing at certain clubs, I'm not even going to mention them, but we need to cover ourselves.
Oh, you need to protect your assets, because we've seen already from the short spell in the first team how important Garnacho is and can become for this Manchester United side, and the potential to be a world-class player is there. You know, he was this close to going to the World Cup, which would have been fantastic for him because he ended up winning it. And there's the big battle about the under-20s World Cup, which thankfully we've won, but he's still going to go to the national team anyway. So his future is almost kind of set of where he fits into not just Manchester United, but also the national team for the world champions. So for us to tie him down and get a nice big release clause in there is very important, because we've let too many players leave for we don't sell well, do we? We don't sell our players well at all. So if we're to do this now, Delo could be another one coming in, because like you say, your Luke Shaws and Rashfords probably aren't going to go to other pastures and go to Spain or Italy, because the culture is here. They know the Premier League is the best club in the world, but the best league in the world. But like you say, there's them two big teams over in Spain that no matter how bad their league is, they have that draw. No matter how bad their run or how bad they're performing in competitions, once they flash their eyes at you, a lot of the sort of Latin players start to glance over there. And Garnacho would fit in at Real Madrid superbly. You could see him playing for them. So to starve off that interest and have that clause is brilliant. But I would like to see United do it a lot more in terms of when we're tying players down, young players and more established stars in the team, because we don't want to be shortchanged, and a player of a young calibre, an 18-year-old that could go on and be worth 150 million if we progress him and he excels in the right way. It's only right that we 100% protect what we value as assets at the club.
100% agree with everything you just said there. There is a zombie. He's back in the super chat. Second one. Cheers, mate. The fact that Radcliffe is in bed with Joel proves how much of a pest he is. He needs to be removed from the equation. He is just another Glazer. Oh, I heard a few comments there. I think most people have started talking and calling Sir Jim Ratcliffe instead of Radcliffe. Yeah. That was such an obvious one for him to drop into there. But yeah, it's coming, and like I said, I don't know how he addresses this or how he turns the fans. He must have a rabbit under his hat somewhere in terms of if the Glazers are still here and he takes charge, he has got one big opening speech.
Well, I'll tell you what won't do it, and that's having Kasper Schmeichel trying to cover you back, because that's not nearly enough. And the fact nothing's been denied in regards to the Glazers is worrying, because you think that's the first thing he wants to do. Because unless he lives in a cave, and we all know that he doesn't live in a cave, he must know, especially if he's partly a United fan, he must know the feeling towards the Glazers, that us as fans have. So if he's willing to get into bed with them and keep them hanging around, that's worrying for me. And like you say, he's going to have a massive ace up his sleeve. And if he drags in an ex-player, you know, you think of Beckham or anyone like that. Beckham's the only one I can think of, because I don't think anyone else would do it. Ronaldo wouldn't do it, and you know, Keane probably wouldn't do it at all. So you're looking at who would he bring in to try and sweeten the fans with? Do we go and buy Messi, or do we go and get Mbappe or anything like that? Something he's going to have to do something to turn the tide, because I can only imagine the wave of negativity that will be received for him if he does take over the club and keeps the Glazers in the pocket as well.
Yep. Just to round everything up before we finish up, guys. So Jim Ratcliffe is confident, his bid is flexible and around 6.5 billion. I don't know the full details of how that's broken down yet, but that's where we're at with that. The Qataris are a little bit upset because, well, they're not upset, they just want things rectifying and everything to speed up like the best of us. But they now apparently are going to go in direct to the Glazers. It's not been taken off the table that they will go in. Ben Jacobs has been breaking the news and the updates on everything from CBS. We've talked about that. And don't forget, guys, on the Twitter space later on tonight on the United Stand, we will be talking direct to him and getting a little bit more detail on what he's put out today. But in that was the fact that, obviously, you then do go straight to the owners. The Rain Group is moved out of the equation when the preferred bidder comes in. But that's not off the table for the Qataris to go in now. I think they would be looking for a bit of clarity from what Ben was saying. We'll get that information later on what the Qataris' next move is. They are not finished in this bidding process. No matter how much media has been put out there regarding Sir Jim's bid, the Qataris are not finished in this. They will not go away, and they still feel like their bid is the strongest and is the most prosperous for this club moving forward. But guys, that is it for today's show. Cheers for tuning in, everybody. Super Chat's off the scale. Thanks for joining in the polls and getting all your comments in as well. We got there in the end. We put all sides across. Just so you know, most important player of the month was Bruno Fernandes with 77% of the vote. Super Chat right at the end from, there's a zombie again. Redcliffe's, let me clear my throat. Redcliffe's mask should be removed. He is Woodward. Ooh, yes. Double A, cheers for coming on, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure to be back on, mate, as always.
Brilliant stuff. Guys, Matt will be back at 7 o'clock tonight with a look ahead towards the Brighton game. We didn't even get into that. There's that much to get into here. But yeah, do join Matt later on at 7 o'clock. Like I said, I will be back on Twitter Space later on this evening as well, talking to Ben and bringing you more detail on the ownership and where we're up to. Like, share and subscribe to the United Stand, everybody. Cheers for tuning in. We will be back. Match day's coming as well as everything else. Cheers for watching, everyone.